Hello, everybody, and welcome to Talking Elite Fitness. And one of the guys that did qualify for the Torian Pro Semifinal and a new contender for the CrossFit Games, Jake the Snake Douglas, with the biceps to kill for. How are you, buddy?
Good, mate. Good. How are you?
Mate, pretty good. I was in a bit of a body bag after the semi-final, as I'm sure you were. Yours was probably all physical. Mine was all neurological. So I had to sleep for a fair bit of the week after Torian, but back kicking already. But how are you feeling?
Good, mate. Yeah, we had a week off training, and I actually felt more mentally fatigued than physically fatigued as well, to be honest.
Okay. Yes, I'm not sure how you guys cope with doing both at the same time, but mentally it's just as hard. Now, people don't know who you are. You've just come out of the woodwork. For everyone else in the world, for us, we know exactly who you are. But let's throw all the way back to your journey where you started with CrossFit and when you got first exposed to it.
I was first exposed to CrossFit around about 2006, 2007. I had a teacher who was just into fitness, and yeah, he just sort of showed me CrossFit.com, and I followed that for quite a while. Not exclusively, just every now and then I'd look at .com and do a workout, and sort of fake it till you make it, like everyone did back then, I think. And as the years went on, I was playing rugby, and I ended up in Scotland playing for a couple of years, and I had a guy who was sort of right into CrossFit, and I was going to a Globo gym, and he just started feeding me, some like competition style days from, I think it was Comp Train back then, or Competitors WOD, maybe, whatever it was. So I did that for a while, and as I got back to Tamworth, there was no real options to go to a CrossFit gym or whatever. So just started training out of my garage, and here we are.
Boom. Did what we all did and started in our garage, and then we expand, and all of a sudden it's full-blown business.
Yeah.
Now, people look at you, look at your physique, and go, he's got to be a bikie or something.
Yeah.
Perception. And I've heard that a lot from people saying, this guy doesn't come across as a dad of two kids and family man and that sort of thing. It's his persona that comes with perception, I suppose. So let's squash that straight away. Family is like everything to you.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it is everything to me. Yeah.
Let's run through how that all came about and the two kids that came along, and Frankie on the competition floor was just outstanding when you're in tears and she's laughing her head off. So just run me through your history and how all that came to pass, and how that, I guess, when you're looking back at your career, how much that has influenced your position where you are now, but how it's impacted the way you train, but also the way you deal with stuff at home.
Yeah, so my partner, like the mother of my kids, we're engaged. We've been engaged for a long time. COVID has ruined a couple of weddings for us. But yeah, we've been together, feels like forever now. She was in Scotland with me as well. She came overseas with me as I was playing some footy, so she's always been with me. Always been my biggest supporter, real driving force. And yeah, we sort of, Frankie came about as a really happy surprise. So yeah, Frankie's now 5 and Johnny's 2, my son. So yeah, 2 kids. They're everything, man. Like, they drive me. They're not necessarily my why, but I love the fact that, well, they are my why, but they're not why I'm sort of competing. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm competing because that's what I like to do, and I'm that sort of way inclined. I need to compete in something. I enjoy it, but I really appreciate the fact that I get to set an example for them in the way that I compete in this and the way that I continue to show up, the lessons of perseverance and resilience and dedication, all these things that I get to set by example, not by just talking to them about it, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. I've been doing the same thing for the last 18 years.
Yeah.
So your competitive nature continued on through CrossFit. And then for those who don't know, the Commonwealth Games is obviously something that's related to Commonwealth countries specifically and not worldwide. So it's like the Olympics, but a different version in every alternate 4 years. And that was something you pursued in weightlifting.
Yeah, so it was probably between me and 2 other guys who would have got the 96 kilo spot. So with it, it's very similar to the Olympics, the Com Games, where there's only a certain amount of allocations for weight class. So I was trying to qualify as a 96. It was a 96 then, I think. So I needed to do the Commonwealth Championships, which would have been in Samoa, or the Oceania Games, whichever one it was. I had to do that one. And then there would have been one more in September, which would have been the Australian Open, to see who would have made it. So the best total would have went on and represented Australia. I subluxed my elbow 2 weeks or 3 weeks before that competition, so I never actually got to lift for Australia, which is really disappointing. But yeah, that injury, and then straight after that was a ACL rupture, and I think those two things actually made me a much better CrossFitter in the long run.
Why is that? Just because you had to go and do your rehab and get better and stronger?
No, because I had to do the rehab, but it also sat me on machines for, nearly 12 months. Like, I literally just had to do fitness. I spent 12 months on a bike erg and a watt bike, so just building that aerobic base, which is, you could probably argue I would have got to the games a lot sooner if I had a better engine or a better endurance. But I think because I was trying to do the weightlifting thing at the same time, strength was always taking priority in training. I got to build a better endurance base, and I'm still, a long way off some of these guys, but yeah, I think it let me build the base that was required.
Let's throw it back 12 months. Torian Pro starts 2022. You come out of the gates with King Arthur and you hit a 25th. What are you thinking?
Very disappointing. I knew that wouldn't be my best finish, but I didn't expect it to be like that. My time I got a better score in training. Looking back on it, I think it was a fair bit of performance anxiety for me, that workout. I just, didn't execute, felt really bad on the floor, a lot of self-doubt, because obviously, I think I'd missed 18 months of competing through some injuries. So I sort of was on the sideline for so long, and coming back into it, it was mentally, that was a tough workout.
I think it was mentally tough, physically tough for every single individual in the field, because everyone I've spoken to said that was one of the most brutal events they've ever done.
Yeah, that's in my top 3 worst workouts. It was so bad.
So let's not rehash that. We don't need to retest that. Tick the box and move on.
Yeah.
So you progress through and you get progressively better over the weekend and you finish on a massive high, but you're a couple of points out and you're a couple of spots out and you miss out on that spot. How was the feeling post Torian Pro 22?
Yeah, I was happy. I was happy that I could come back from, that 25th place. I think maybe years gone by, that might have got in my head for the day and another poor finish, and then I would have really had to try and claw my way out. I was happy with coming 5th and sort of just continuing to show up on each workout. And then as I look back on it, there was even things that I still didn't execute within those workouts. So I sort of spoke to some mentors of mine and I was like, look, I really think I could make the games if I get rid of that 25th finish to start with. I'm right amongst the mix. So it was nice to know that it probably wasn't a capacity thing, more of an execution thing for me.
You look at Justin Medeiros when he wins the games for the first time, he doesn't win an event. You look at Jade Crouch, he consistently doesn't win events, but he's in that top 5 realm. And that's pretty much consistency across like every domain possible. I think you've showed coming into this year that the few weaknesses were worked on. And that was something that really helped you out for the Torian Pro a couple of weeks back.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, just my bad finishes were not even half as bad. So that was a really good feeling. And I mean, I think my worst place finish was the 800 run, but I just, again, poor execution. In training, I was a lot quicker. So I don't know what happened on the day.
You didn't lift 310 pounds prior to that in front of a massive crowd and empty your fatigue tanks.
Yeah, that's right, man. I do think that had something to do with it. And even as I spoke to a couple of the guys from HWPO, they're like, yeah, look, you just, maybe if you wanted a better run time, you don't lift as heavy. For me, though, I just, I saw the points up for grabs and just went for it.
So we come into the Torian Pro 2023. What were your expectations on yourself coming in?
Expectations, firstly, was to make myself proud I was like, regardless, I want to walk away from this one and say that I worked my weaknesses and I executed on those ones. And then secondly, I wanted to have a real fight. Like I wanted to fight for that games ticket. I thought I was a real shot, especially with some of the guys that were out. I thought that I'd prove myself to be competitive enough to really try and punch the ticket. So, yeah.
Well, if you look at the top sort of 6, 7 from 2022, Ricky's obviously out, Baden's obviously out, and then Royce goes team. So it was sort of this progression of the blokes that were in that list just sort of stepping up. So you go into the weekend, the first test gets done. It's a long one. How did you feel post that, considering that it was a lot of machine stuff and probably something you were going to be enjoying because you've done so much of it?
Yeah, I was a little bit upset after it just because I thought that I could have executed it better. I sort of finished it and I was obviously gassed. I just wish that I maybe did a couple of things differently. But all in all, I was also really happy that, hey, look, that's the longest test of the weekend, and it's a 12th place finish or wherever it was. So, you compare 12 to 25th. I was stoked.
Yeah, so you knock off half of that what you did the previous year, and things are looking a lot better.
Yeah.
So we move on to day 2, and we've got Linda, and you did well in Linda in 2018. I think you finished in 16 minutes something back then with barbell. How excited were you to see Linda pop up again?
Man, I was so excited because in 2018, I think I hit Linda in training in like 12 and a half minutes or something. So I was like really confident in 18 going into it, and I just started way too fast and just gassed myself out. So I've been wanting redemption on that workout for a long time. And then it came out, and it was obviously dumbbell bench, which I felt even more confident in versus the field, I guess. And yeah, I actually went into that workout. I started really slow, had a great game plan, and yes, that one felt like redemption to me.
Because I know Pat Vellner said in a interview he did a couple of weeks before his semi-final, he said, "Oh, why do we keep redoing these events all the time?" And then there's only 3 guys from that field from 2018 that were still in. So he goes, "Oh, okay. So I'm just old. Okay, that's cool." Yeah. So there was only a couple of you that did redo it from 2018. James Newbury, obviously, Rob Watt. So yeah. It was good to sort of try and compare times from what you did back then to what you did a couple of weeks back. Now we go to test number 4, and I think the entire Torian Pro crowd was pretty excited to see what was going to unfold. And how did you feel going in, knowing what you were like predicting to hit versus sort of wanting to hit and play it a little bit safe and not miss any lifts? How did you feel going in?
Yeah, I was actually pretty nervous for this one because like I'd spent so much time with endurance work that I wasn't exactly sure where my snatch was at. In saying that, we prepped well for it, and I only actually planned on hitting 130. That was the end of the road for me. I was like, oh, I'm just going to go 225, 275, 285, something along those lines. And that was the whole game plan until I saw Darcy hit 305.
And the goalposts get moved.
Yeah, and I just thought when I looked at what scores had been put up, I just did the maths on it, and I said, all right, well, if I go 295, then I'll definitely get a second or a third, and then I can just go for the win. And if not, then it's still that. So that there's sort of that bottleneck at 275, 285. So yeah, so it's all thanks to Darcy, to be honest.
So you're up in the last sort of 40 seconds of that test, and the crowd is going bananas. They were so loud that night. It was ridiculous. I saw you look up, and I don't know where you looked, but you looked towards like where we were broadcasting from, and you just gave yourself about a 5-10 second rest, a breather, and took a couple of deep breaths before you picked the barbell up. What was going on there?
That was me just trying to calm myself down. Like, I think as a competitor, I've been very fast out of the gates before. Like I think you've seen me do enough heavy lifts that sometimes I might be pretty keen just to hit it, rush it, and miss the lift. So yeah, I just wanted to really take my time, And I ran that clock all the way down to about 5 seconds or something to say, all right, well, I got one attempt, tried to visualize it. And yeah, it paid off for me.
How do you feel in a lift like that with the crowd like that and you nail it and you're sitting at the bottom knowing full well you're standing it up in a couple of seconds? How do you control that adrenaline and what is the actual feeling like? If you can describe it or compare it to anything.
Yeah, for me on that one, it was relief. Like as I was like, I'm gonna look like an idiot if I miss this one. But no, I try to ignore them right up until I'm on my way up, because it's still, if you lose concentration in the bottom of that overhead position, you can still lose it.
It's going one way.
Yeah. So I was like, ignore them, ignore them, ignore them. And then when you know you're on your way up, that's when it's like this relief, and you can, it's like, I'm so appreciative of the crowd and how loud they are and how much they get behind us in those moments. It's something that I think the longer I do it, the more I realize that that's probably something that you miss when you're done with it.
Oh, big time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Athletes say that all the time.
Yeah.
Oh, I think you've got to bottle that stuff up. Now you've got to bottle that up and you've got 2 minutes to calm yourself, because then you've got to go back and reset and get into test 5. Now, 85 kilos for you, touch and go, that was going to be pretty easy. So it was a matter of getting onto the air runner as quick as you could and get into a pace and try and calm yourself down a little.
Yeah, that's right. That's all it was. That 2 minutes, I just kept telling myself, just next job, like stay calm and be smooth. You start to jump around a little bit or use the hype too much, it's probably going to drain more energy than what it's going to help me with. So
yeah. So we put Saturday to bed. You probably go to bed thinking, hey, I've had a really good day. This is like not the normal point spread you see, because it's normally 200 points middle day. It's 300 points, and you've done pretty well on 2 of those. And the other one was probably about midfield. So that's a pretty good day in anyone's books. You wake up Sunday morning, and I'm sure it's at the back of your mind of, hey, this is possible. Like, I'm in for a shot here.
Yeah, it's the strangest feeling about it was that I felt like I was holding the ticket now. Do you know what I mean? Like,
which is dangerous,
bro. Yeah, that's what I was like. Oh my goodness! Like, this is for the first time ever. I'm actually holding it. I'm not trying to fight for it anymore.
You've got it to lose.
You're fighting for it. Yeah. Like it's in my fate is in my hands, is how it felt, and that was more nerve wracking because I've always been the guy that's scrapping for the points at the end of the comp, whereas now it felt like if I just executed what I knew I could do, I was probably it would have been good enough to make it.
Yeah. So you hit test number 6, and obviously a lot of gymnastics stuff, some pirouettes that we haven't seen before, and some seated legless rope climbs, which we haven't seen either, which previous heats to watching, or the week before, and even the previous heats at Torian, a few stumbling blocks for some great athletes who, just didn't execute the event properly. What were you thinking going into 6?
I actually thought that this was going to be my make or break, even when it was announced, purely for the sort of the pirouettes of it. I was happy that it was paired with some movements that I'm quite confident in, but it's just the pirouettes. Like in training, I was slow at them, but I was okay. But on the day, I actually tripped up coming back, which hadn't happened to me in training. So I was like, I thought, no, here goes the game ticket. So I had to sort of collect myself, and that's my proudest moment of the whole weekend. Trying to collect myself even after sort of 4 or 5 trips. I think I lost about 90 seconds of my workout in the first 2 pirouettes. So stressful times.
Oh, big time. And you go on to finish 7th in test number 6, which you probably sat back and went, wow, like, how did that happen? Considering you spent that 90 seconds and that time, and we were sitting there as we were broadcasting it going, okay, is this going to be the point that breaks you? And you finished 7th, and you probably sat down after that and went, whoa, okay, things are not so bad now. I've really going to dig in here for the last one, which was probably going to suit you a lot.
Yeah.
And what were you thinking going into the final test of the day?
I just had said to Maddie, I was like, right, we can play this 2 ways. I could try and get my best score and win the event, or I can try and beat Will. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, that's where I was at. Because if I was in Will's position, I would have rode into the pits of hell, you know, on the first.
So do a Rob Watt.
That's right, yeah. And so I said to Matty, I was like, all right, I'm not going to lose this games ticket by me trying to pace the workout. I'm going to start fast, and I'm going to hope that it's too quick for him to catch me. And if I can get eyes on him, then I'm just going to try and stay ahead from there. And that's what I did. Just tried to hold on.
We had some scenarios sent to us from our head stats guy in the States, like prior to the last test, and we knew exactly where everyone's sitting, exactly what everyone needed to do, and all you needed to do was finish ahead of Will, and that was pretty much going to be enough. You finish 6th, the roar of the crowd, and then a few things happen, a few placements happen that we didn't expect to happen, and we sit there and we wait. Now, we knew at broadcast exactly who was going and who wasn't going, but you guys had no idea. What was that feeling like on the floor and that anticipation of the announcement?
Oh, man, it was stressful. Like, as I said, as soon as I finished, I looked over and double-checked, and I knew that I'd beaten him. But then all that was running through my head was, was there an appeal that I didn't know about, or did other athletes squeeze between us in the last workout, or did I miss a calculation? You know, it was just all these scenarios running through my head. So I looked over at my team like 4 or 5 times, like, do you guys know anything? And they're like, so yeah, I just was the most nerve-wracking 10 minutes, like, oh.
And that roar of the crowd once you got announced as going and finally getting to represent Australia at the CrossFit Games, which is something like is just phenomenal and something that very few people get to do. Obviously, emotion got the better of you. I think it got the better of everybody in Pat Rafter Arena. We were blubbering in broadcast. We had no chance. But it was very highly emotional for a lot of people because it's been a journey.
Yeah, I was I'm still blown away by the people that sort of, you know, have reached out or are invested in my journey. And as Ellen said, she's like, you know, it's funny, maybe just every comp you've done, you've got 1 or 2 more sort of people in on your journey, you know, up until this point, because it has been just, you know, as you said, seems like I've probably just come out of nowhere, but it's like, it's been a long time.
Well, you're not a spring chicken anymore.
No,
and you're getting older and wiser, and you obviously proved that between last year's Torian and this year because your performance was about on par, but the way you executed was a lot different.
Yeah. I think just going into it, really trying to play the game and execute those moments that previous years maybe I rushed or sort of had those self-sabotage moments. I was able to sort of rein it in. So I feel like a much more well-rounded athlete in terms of how to play the game.
So we fast forward 7 weeks from now, you're in Madison, Wisconsin. What are your expectations of the games? And I know expectations on yourself is going to be difficult because it's a different kettle of fish altogether. What are your expectations of the games?
I expect it to be something that's, you know, well, I can't find the words for it. I expect it to be something that feels like a once in a lifetime, you know, like I expect it to be a spectacle. I expect it to be a bigger crowd than I've experienced at a CrossFit competition, things like that. As for expectations on myself, I just want to go into it and enjoy it. I'm there for the ride, you know. I want to scrap for as many points as possible. I really do want it to be hard. If there's a soft pitch down the middle, I want to try and execute it and do what I can. But I have a full awareness that I'm not going to be a 10-year games guy, right? Like it's just, I'm not the 20-year-old sensation rolling in. I'm the freaking 32-year-old dad that's there to like kick in the door and just enjoy it whilst I'm there. And I think that that's a really freeing feeling around it as well. Like I'm just there to enjoy it, man. Like I get to go spend the summer with Matt Fraser and HWPO and roll into the games and, you know, do something that I've wanted to do for a decade. I'm just looking forward to it, man.
Well, when you don't put expectation on yourself, you normally perform a lot better. Athletes that have got that expectation tend to probably not perform and not execute the way they should. with what's normally happening at the events at the CrossFit Games, there's sort of out of the box type stuff. And sometimes athletes that are coming in for the first time go, okay, and just rip in and actually perform a lot better.
Yeah, I don't know. For me as an athlete, I think the less thinking I do, the better I go. So less time to think about a workout. Like, it might be better for me. I don't know, but I do think I'm blessed that I've played enough sport and been around sort of, different scenarios enough that I think that I think I'm just going to try and cherish it. Cherish how the spectacle plays out.
So we compete this year. What happens for next year and the years to come?
I don't know, man. Every month at the moment, it's just see what's happened. I think at the end of the games, we're going to sit down, and if my partner's happy to still do, like if Ellen's happy and the kids are happy and my team's happy.
That's always the way.
Yep. If George is getting enough out of me that she needs, then yeah, I'm just going to keep doing it. Like, I love it. Maybe we'll go teams. I don't know. I just, for now, I'm just in with this and I'm happy with where I'm at. And I would love to at least make it twice, like that is certainly something that I look at now. It's like, oh, well, it's good to make it once.
Prove it wasn't a fluke. Let's go
exactly
back.
Right. Yeah. But for now, I'm just enjoying it, man. Like, I'm just stoked. Like, you won't get the smile off my face while I'm rolling around there. Like, I can come 40th in every event. I'll be pumping around that place. Like,
yeah, that's it. Happiest guy there.
Yeah,
you're not doing so well. I don't care. Things are good.
Yeah. I'm here. Yeah.
Now, I think you're going to have a bit of a following when you get over there. The old Trap Daddy hashtag that's going around currently. You're getting a little bit of exposure now, and people are sitting there going, oh, wow, okay. Bailey Martin's obviously been there as a teenager. Jay Crouch has been there before. You're sort of like this newcomer that no one's ever seen or heard of. Should they be worried? Yeah, yes is the right answer.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. No, look, I don't know, man. I feel like it's quite evident the things I'm going to do well at. I've probably been one of the stronger guys in the sport for quite a while. So I think that, a strength event, I think if I can execute it, I'll obviously be a threat in anything that's high power output. And then I think if I can execute on the things that maybe aren't necessarily my strengths, yeah, I can be dangerous there, but I don't know. It's just no expectation. I'm just every single event, man, I'm just scrapping for points. That's what I'm there for.
Now, training-wise, are you going to be doing anything different or adding something to your routine that you normally wouldn't like? Obviously, there's going to be some swimming involved in Madison because there always is. Cycling, all that sort of stuff that you don't normally get to do quarterfinal or semifinal.
Yeah, I actually, I cycle a little bit year-round anyways, and I swim most weeks, so all that's pretty good. I'm not the fastest on those two things. Bricks don't float real well, but no, look, I can swim. Yeah, I can do all that stuff. So I'm looking for. I think it'll be really fun, man. Like preparing for it, like doing some triathlons or whatever it is that they'll have us be doing. Like I'm really looking forward to that stuff.
High skill gymnastics, as you'd expect that with Boz programming, he's going to be throwing something different. Are you going to do anything different? Like the parallel bars that they introduced last year or the crossover double unders or anything like that that's out of the box that you're going to have a bit of a dabble in?
Yeah, I've been playing with that stuff for the last 6-8 months as it is. But yeah, I have no doubt that when I roll into Vermont, they're going to have all sorts of fun things ready. I got no doubt.
Awesome. Well, we look forward to watching your progress. I'll be seeing you because I'll be over there anyway. But I can't wait till to see what you can do on the competition floor. We're really, really proud as a nation and as a region. And you obviously heard that from the crowd when you were announced. So really excited to see what you can do. Good luck for the next little journey before you get to the games and at the games as well. And we look forward to seeing what's happening in the next couple of years as well.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Appreciate
All
you.
good. Thanks, bud.
Thanks, bro. Bye.